Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Can everyone hear me okay? Yay?
So great.
Awesome. All right. We got people jumping in via. There we go. You guys will get started.
We do.
Yay. Hey,
I am gonna.
Good to see your face.
Hey, good to see you.
Can we let people in? Can I just run? I will be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay. We will allow it. We shall allow it. All right, I'm gonna keep letting people in. Jake, you're gonna be my partner in crime for the power of mute and helping with the waiting room. Does that sound good? I love it.
Got it.
All right, you guys will get started in just a few minutes. So here's the deal, guys. This is our monthly Path to a Million Mastermind. So our top producers across the Experience Brokerage Network, as well as the Ben Kinney companies. So we are going to be having conversations at the very, very top. Of course, your 15 million volume or more agents. So we're going to be having some super high level conversations. So the best way for masterminds to work is we are so grateful you joined us on the call, and we are hoping that if you are in a place and a space and asterisk dressed appropriately, that you will turn your camera on so that we can actually interact, collaborate, and mastermind as real life humans, not just little black boxes with names on it. So all right, we get the chat going. Via is going to be right back. She is our guest. Well, she's going to lead us through Path to a Million today. We will get rocking. There she is. She's back.
Well, Rita's going to help me teach today.
Oh, can you turn your volume up a bit, Via?
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Better. Give us some more words.
There it is. Are you there?
Yes.
So Rita, you're here, which means you're helping me teach today.
I'm here. I'm ready.
Rita does not get to show her face anywhere with me without so basically it's Via and Sarita today, everybody. Hi, welcome. How is everybody? Let me just see who we have here. I'm really excited about this content because if any of you guys have been on our Wednesday webinars, you'll know that I've had the opportunity to interview and talk to the top teams and agents around the country for over a year, every single week. And it's a highly tactical webinar. And one day, about 90 days ago, I was asked to teach a class for a group of offices in California and then in Connecticut. And I sat down and I realized, I was like, I have learned a lot. It occurred to me, I was just reflecting back on, I mean, if you think about some of the people, half of Gary's group, I've been in the weeds with them, in the weeds. Sarita's been on twice, right? In the weeds, like drilling down 3 deep on specificities of initiatives and programs and rollouts and tactics. And I just kind of closed my eyes and I thought, what's the commonality? Like, what are these top teams doing that other people aren't doing? And I got like one of those, you ever have those light bulb moments, those lightning? What do you guys think it is actually? I had a light bulb moment. I will tell you that I think, and there's a couple reasons, but I think, and it's tactical. My hint is it's tactical. I think that the top teams are doing that no one else is doing. What do you think it is? No guesses?
They're shy today, Via.
I know, they're shy. Jason, what do you think it is?
What I think the top teams are doing that no one else is doing?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the back to basics, making sure that the follow-up is happening. But I think that most importantly, top teams are systematically reaching out to their database and finding a way to stay in touch with them, even if you can't gather with them at a client event. And so making sure those calls are made, making sure pop-bys are done, making sure the appreciation's out there to generate referrals from people that you're already working with. And I think just staying consistent in the activities you do every day will generate the right business. So I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but I don't think it needs to be that complex, I guess is my thing. We come in and we do our activities. Everybody gets their dials in. We have gopher appointments. We do client events or pop-bys every month. And we stay in touch with our database.
Yeah. And for all of you guys who don't know Jason, he is in our Lacey office, and you've had phenomenal growth year over year, haven't you, Jason, on your team? What are you guys doing this year, and what did you do last year?
Last year was 42 million in volume with 6 agents, 120 closed sales. This year, almost 70 closed. I think we have 15 or 18 pending right now. We're actually running a little low. But we're projected for probably 25%, 30% growth over last year. Profitability's there. That's something that I really keep an eye on. It's improving. And then the other thing I went to 2021 with was a growth mindset as far as agent count. And so right now we're at 12 licensed agents in production. We've got 3 more that are either waiting to get licensed or they're in our, first 90 days of training. So the goal is to get out of 2021 with at least 20 producing agents.
Yeah, love that. Love that. I think you're right, Jason. I think your answer, in working the database is right. And I think there's something else. And the something else that hit me squarely between the eyes is that, because it all folds into that, is that the top teams that are doing it at a high level and doing it in a predictable level, which is, I use the word predictable. It's a really important word for me, that are predictable. They know how to turn spigots up and turn things up, that they understand, the teams that understand the correlation between activities and results, right? That's what I mean. I think that what they're doing is there is an intentional plan for business from every major league pillar. That is what the difference is, that they have the ability to execute, and it's usually leverage, by the way, but they have the ability to execute a database plan, like Jason said, or they have the ability to do that. One of the key things that most teams are missing, that I am like on the mountaintops about right now, is that I don't think most teams, I shouldn't say you guys are the exception, are not getting enough leads from listings and are not intentional, purposeful, and executing enough to get enough business from their current listings. And that really stuck out at me this year because listings have been so down. Not everyone, a lot of people have been down on listings. And I started noticing it was the teams that have formulas that are like, well, part of our business model is for every listing, we're going to get 1 additional piece of business, 2 additional pieces of business, 3 additional pieces of business. And I started laser focusing on that. And I started, I went back, I literally went back on 12 months of notes and prep. I was like watching tape, like a football coach, right? Watching tape. And I came up with this class, and this is the 3rd time that I've taught this content. And I'm pretty fired up about it. I'm pretty passionate about it because all of you can execute this and literally triple your business between now and the end of the year. You can start tripling your business like this weekend. And so I was just going to share this today and kind of just make it, an interactive meeting, and kind of go through it together, if that's okay with you guys. And it's really how to double or triple your business from business you already have. We call them LFL, leads from listings, but getting business from listings. So I got my screen open, and I'm not at my office today. I'm on my laptop screen, which means I can't really see all of you in gallery view. When I'm at my regular office, I have 2 screens, which means you're going to just jump in and interrupt me. So jump in and interrupt me. I'm not looking at chat right now. Sarita, maybe you can help me do that a little bit, and you can just pepper in. And we can just kind of crank this content out, and I'm happy to share the slide deck afterwards. But I'd like to get in a conversation. I think some of this you guys are already doing well, and some of it is going to be some ahas, because this is like the all-star content from all the webinars I've done so far this year. All right. So in an extreme seller's market, we've all been limited on listings. Now, over the last month or 2, that's changed a little bit. Most of us have started to catch up on it, but up until now, it's been a really, really tough market. And like I said earlier, for every listing, we should at least be getting one piece of business out of that. What I would share with you is that you have to choose your ratio up front, and that everyone here in this group should be at a ratio of 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. And I think that this group needs to have pretty aggressive goals. So then if you're looking at it from like 135 format or GPS format, that's what I did. I literally wrote a GPS on it, and I was like, all right, well, if we're going to reverse engineer that and go back and say, okay, we're going to get 3 pieces of business for every listing we have. Like, how are we going to do that? And I just wrote this class based on the GPS. That's all this is if I were doing this for my team, which I have started doing for my team, and it's working, by the way. It's working phenomenally well. So I think that the big seed I'll plant in your head that you already know, but I'll remind you, is that the cycle has changed. And what I mean by that is we no longer have 1, 2, 3, 4, we might have 1 week if we hold them, but we don't have a month anymore to generate the leads that we used to generate. So we don't have that lingering sign call, that lingering internet stuff, right? Once something goes pending, it's pulled off of Zillow and Redfin and all the other websites. Keller Williams is pulled off the websites, right? So the cycle now has to be super, super orchestrated upfront. So the first seed I want to plant with you is you have to really think about, are you putting the time, effort, and energy up front, and how you're going to get 3-to-1 or how you're going to get 2-to-1, right? That's the first thing. The time frame is completely changed. Things have to be produced. Marketing has to be ready to go. Everything, it's the same amount of work, if not more. It's just all upfront work now. So I just want to plant the seed with you on that. This is that I think you need to set a goal. So if nothing else, if you do nothing else from this today, I want you guys to think about, like, do we have a goal? Do I actually have a goal written down? Does my team understand it? Does my operations staff, does my marketing people, do they understand that they're accountable to 2 or 3 pieces of business for every listing, which in most cases means they're accountable to leads from listings, LFL, right? It's your job to convert, or it's your listing agent's job to convert, or your buyer's agent's job. But how many leads do you have to generate per listing in order to get that amount of business? It just starts with a goal and writing the goal down, right? Most of us don't do that. I hadn't had that until this. So these are all, these are a lot of the common ways that we get listings, right? And I think the difference now in a market like this, and perhaps moving forward, is that a lot of this has to now be done up front. Right? A lot of this can't kind of be rolling through a 30-day process. Sure, we're going to have a 30-day escrow. I get it. But in our past lives, we had a market time of 30 days plus a 30-day escrow, and that has changed. And so we have to think about how we're going to consolidate everything we were doing and how we can use it to the best impact in a different way, right? Different way. So automation and tech has become more and more important. We just don't have the luxury of time. We have 1 weekend of open houses. That's the deal. We have 1 weekend of open houses. Every single person has to register. Every single person has to be closed multiple times to try to get appointments. That's it. You might have a good turnout on those open houses, but you might need 2 people because you're going to have an exorbitant amount of people. Concentrate. Just think about everything you used to do in 2 or 3 weeks is 1 weekend, right? So what is your lead flow? Are they registering at your open house to go straight into your CRM? In our case, Brivity. Are they using that? Are they literally entering themselves into your CRM? If so, what's their auto plan? What's their follow-up? Is there a listing alert pre-populated that's triggered by that registration? Are they getting text messages a couple hours later, right? So you have to really make sure, if you are not now, literally when we're done with this, you need to, if nothing else, set up a rudimentary auto plan on Command or Brivity. That is absolutely basic. You can't do this without tech. It's too consolidated of a process now to do this without tech, I think. Sarita, do you guys have anything on this, on automating that when at open houses?
No, honestly, we haven't been doing them as much because we're starting to glitch now. My Portland peeps can chime in with fewer showings and even not going the first weekend and going longer. But we have been, at least on our side, we've just been really prepping for max showings and, vacating the property. And just, so we're definitely not, we're working on max return for the seller, and we're not doing a great job on monetizing for the, how do we get extra business from it?
It doesn't have to be good. I mean, I mean that, like, I'm kind of being serious. Like, your auto plans don't actually have to be good. They have to exist. You just start where you start. Even if it's nothing else, even if you sit down, because sometimes we want to poke like needles in our eyes. You're looking at me like, I haven't even logged on to Command. I haven't even logged on to Brivity. I don't want to do an auto plan. I get it. Even if you just do, you know, an automated text goes out 3 hours after they register, everyone gets triggered onto a listing alert that's the same as the open house. And there's one follow-up email the next day. That is better than what you're doing, which is probably nothing, right? We cannot anymore do this without some kind of automation. And then guess what happens? One day you add something to it. You know, I may send a text the second day. And what happens is over the span of 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you know, if you want to slow roll it over the span, you have a 10 days of pain, but you don't have to start out sitting down, spending 6 hours writing it out. Just start with something, right? Just start with a baseline and then add to it. I find in implementing anything, it's the initial startup that's the worst part. So once you start an auto plan with 1 or 2 steps, adding to it's going to be easy. The hardest part is going to be just starting it and then hurting your brain enough to go, all right, how are people logging into my open houses? Just getting help, having someone set up, you know, Brivity or Command on your iPad so that someone can just come into the open house and they can do it, or they can scan a QR code and do it, right? All right.
Yeah, it'd be great to pause real quick here and just, I agree. Like, it doesn't have to be great. You just have to do it and start somewhere. I'd love to just kind of poll this group on who feels like they're doing this at a high level and can share what they're doing.
Yeah, we should do a Facebook group for this Path to a Million group and start sharing resources. Would you guys be good with that? Let's do that, because you know, we should do that, Sarita. We should have everybody here sharing what they're doing. I love that. Who is doing that at a high level?
We're doing it pretty consistently. We've, you know, I can count probably 3 or 4 pieces of business in the last 2 months that we've gotten from open house, and I mean listings and buyers. And
Yeah,
consistently,
this I mean listing and buyers.
yeah, consistently using the open house check-in tool. And you know, the auto plan's there. We didn't have to build it. You know, Ben gave it to us. That auto plan is designed to solicit a response, and so it's automatically added to everybody. And then I think at least I've heard 2 stories from one of my agents that he picked up 2 buyers where they came in with agents, and 3 weeks later, because they were on an auto plan and he followed up with them once or twice, they called them 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later and said, hey, my agent dropped the ball, you know, will you come show us a house? You know, we want to use you, we want to work with you. And so you know, the likelihood of that happening without utilizing and leveraging the tech that we have, you know, it goes down dramatically.
Yeah, I love that, and we have a couple different auto plans, Sarita, that we can share from Brivity, but also I bet you there's some people here who have fine-tuned, you know, and customized to be happy to share. It's not just open houses, it's just anything, but I think open houses are probably the quickest, most impactful way. All of us are open now and we're all doing them now. And so, you know, you could just get off of the Zoom right now and just do that. And with intentionality, probably get 1 piece of business. And Jason, I mean buyers and sellers. I don't just mean like 3 listings for I just mean like you can get 3 pieces of business.
You know, we started something that we started doing this year is, and this is the simplest thing, and I can't believe it already generated business. We just added a rider on every for sale sign with the co-list agent name and their Brivity number. And we've had 2 or 3 people call those numbers, and that's turned into listings in the same neighborhood. Just because they saw that the house was listed, we held it open all week long, and they would go online and see it was pending quickly. And, you know, they'd talk to their neighbor, and we'd get that referral, and they just called the number on the sign. And then on our for sale sign number, you know, when someone calls that, every agent's phone rings so that we're not missing an opportunity. On top of course, the quickly signs out there, but it's leads from listings it's no joke.
It's so important. And but again, what you did, Jason, like what you just described, it's just a little bit of pre-planning, it's a little bit of purposefulness, and then some eye poking out time up front, like to get it all set up, sit down with your success team, make sure that the numbers are going Shark Tank or round robin or whatever you want to do. I mean, it hurts a little bit at first. None of us here are good at that, and it hurts a little bit at first, but you've already given 2 examples where you've gotten more business just from existing listings, right? So we have to like push through that initial pain of setting some of this up, because none of us are wired for it on this call. And we have to just lean into our success team and just like make sure we just get it started. All of this we're going to talk about, just get it started and the rest will follow. Because then you get pretty motivated, don't you, Jason? It's like losing weight. Like, I hate it when I have to go down in calories, but then when I start seeing it on a scale, I'm like, all right, I don't mind feeling starving all the time because I look good. Yeah,
that's right.
So your team doesn't convert listing leads. Shocking. They say the wrong things. They don't do the activity. You give them too many leads. That's probably its own topic, but y'all know, unless you're very, very automated and unless most agents cannot handle that many leads. And I mean, unless you're very, very structured team. Most of us don't have that. But if you're an extraordinarily structured team and you're auditing that CRM a lot and you're in their grill and they're in the office, I don't like my teams having any more than 100 in their personal account, right? The rest have to go back to the fishing pond account. I just think that 100's a lot. How we do our pipeline management is C's. You can have a lot of C's and nurtures because that's as long as it's automated. But A's and B's are manual, and there's only so many you can handle. Trying to handle more than 10 or 12 A buyers is almost impossible, and you should be doubling the amount of B's for your A's. So that's another 20, 25 B's that are in the pipeline, kind of ready to go in the next 2 to 4 months. That is a lot to handle. And so trying to put your C's on automation is good, but you're still trying to drum up business. I'm just saying, some of your teams might have too many leads. And tacos are my jam. Who are you? That's an amazing name. Who is tacos?
I'm Noah down at Keller in Sunset Corridor.
I might love you. We haven't met. I don't like what, like, you want to get, yeah,
we've actually talked a couple different times. We are with Brevity, but we also utilize the Pond system. We give our agents 100 leads each, and then we have a Brevity virtual ISA calling and following up with all the leads in the pond. And then once they're ready, once they come to surface, then we start handing them off to the agents who are ready to go. We give our agents the authority to work the leads if they have the 100 leads, and if they're not hot leads, they throw them back in the pond, and then the ISA starts following up on them.
So I love that, and that's exactly what my team system, kind of was in the day and is building back to, Noah. And I think that's the perfect way to do it. And I think that there's a finite number. They know it. There's no hard feelings because they're the ones that are kind of sifting and top grading because they understand that.
Yeah, we have just an overabundance amount of leads and not enough agents. So we just try to focus on the A's and B's and throw back the C's and D's. So
yeah, all C's, I used to do, A's are 0 to 30 days, B's are finite, anywhere from 30 to 120 days, and then C's are nurtures. And C's are automated, with some very minimal activities peppered in. That's fine. But A's and B's are pretty manual. I mean, at that point, they're you can't just email them, and that's number 4. You can't just email them. You need to be looking at their website activity, following up with them, texting them, trying to now close to the next step, right? Because the best way to get B's is from our C's, and the best way to get A's is from our B's. So we have to kind of keep moving them up the line, right?
Absolutely.
Number 5, speaking of CRMs, Noah, you don't inspect what you expect, right? You got to get in there and audit, see how many people have been online in the last 24 hours, haven't been heard back from, see how many statuses are still new, right? See how many tags are unchanged, see how many contacts, Jason, are not, put in there, right? I mean, you have to get in there and be an air traffic controller. We all know that. Or we need to have someone in our world doing it. Or number 6, you hired the wrong people. All right, so let's talk about Sphere. This is super, super important, and I think there's a lot here that we're probably not doing. So a lot of you now, I'm noticing it's kind of the trend. I had Zach Wendt on to talk about the golden letter, and I thought it was phenomenal. And he's kind of transformed the golden letter now into the golden text, and I think this is phenomenal for your Sphere. And the golden text is the market's crazy right now, Sarita. House, and you can insert Sarita's name. I could insert name field if I was like, say, using Brivity or something, but the market is crazy right now, Sarita. Houses are selling for more than they're worth. What's the price that would cause you to sell your home without putting it on the market? You know, I've heard it worded different ways. You know, do you have a price? You know, would you consider selling? You know, whatever your personality is on that, right? And then what Zach's method has been is that every single one of these, whether he gets a text that says, hey, you got to pull me out feet first, it doesn't matter. Any type of response is followed up with a phone call. Any type of interaction on these, as agents are trained, that it's, you know, well, Sarita, I totally get that. I love that. Just curious though, if you were going to move, where would you move to? And then you walk into LP Mama and at least put them as a C with a finite thing. You know, I'm going to retire in 5 years. That's awesome. Is there a specific date? Yeah, there actually is a specific date when school's out of session, you know, in June of that year, because I'm a college professor, I'm going to retire. Great. So where are you going to go after that? I'm going to go to Phoenix. Awesome. Have you thought about looking at a Phoenix house now and renting it out? Where are you thinking in Phoenix? And, you know, going down that whole line of questioning, right? So I think that with our Sphere, we can use listings to kind of modify some of these golden text and golden letter and golden phone call scripts. So what I could say now, you know, Melanie, is I could say, you know, hey, Melanie, I just wanted to call because I've got a listing in your neighborhood. And I know it's been a while, but I'm curious, the market's crazy. You know, have you thought about selling? I mean, would there be a price? I've got a line of buyers out the door who, you know, would probably love your house. I mean, these are great phone calls to make. And if Melanie's never, ever going to sell, you know, I'm pretty sure she thinks I'm a pretty good agent for making that call. I'm pretty sure that I look good to her. And she's like, yeah, anyway, Via's like, you know, hustling out there, and she's got buyers. And the next time she's at, you know, her friends at a book group or something, she's like, man, that Via's got buyers. If you're thinking about selling, you should call her first, right? I'm pretty sure that we could probably do better with our Sphere using our listings. Using our listings is an excuse to call and text. Any thoughts on this one? Anyone doing this? Is anyone doing top 10 lists?
That script works, Via. We've used it with our team, calling our sphere of influence. What's the number?
Tell us about it, Jake. Tell us more.
My wife recently, she was calling through some of our sphere ended up double ending a $1.2 million listing from it.
Well, that works.
She called friends of ours that had a fantastic house. They talked about moving. She said, what's your number? And they said it's 1.2 million. She said, hey, I just met a buyer from California. They're looking up to $1 million. Let me see if they'll move. And they went up and got the money and double ended a $1.1 million deal.
Fantastic. I mean, fantastic, right? And for those of us, you know, for those of you here who are either, you know, an individual agent, you do your own calls, you have people or whatever. I don't think these are cheesy calls. Like, I'm pretty sensitive to how I show up with my database. Like, I don't want to be that used car salesman, you know. I don't want them to think of me that way. When I call, and I call with stuff like this from time to time. I'm probably not as regular as I should. I have a day job now, but darn Ben, man, he's got me working. But you know, I make calls like this, and I've made calls like this through the years, and you know, they love it. They really, most people view me as someone who is working hard for their client. There's a perception that it gives, I think. So I think that some of this is long game stuff as well. It's how we show up to our database, you know. It just gives us a lot of credibility. So you know, the no's that come from it it's like having events. I don't know that the reason is to drum up immediate business. Sometimes with our Sphere, because this is on the Sphere section, sometimes with our Sphere, this is just about showing up in a way that's going to give you future business, right? Anyway, some of the people I've interviewed, a couple of them have top 10 lists, which we've had from time to time on the team. I haven't done this at a high level. where they're always ranking like on a weekly basis, their top 10 buyers or top 10, would buys or would sells, right? And they review it weekly. I don't know if they do it in their coaching. I didn't really get in the weeds in some of these interviews, but it's always intrigued me that they've had this top of the mind. I could see it going in your notes of your phone, where anytime you're anywhere now, if you've got a constant top 10 list of would sells and would buys, especially if you work in a similar geographic area, I think that's powerful. And I think we can probably use that better in our sphere. And we run into someone at a grocery store and we're like, hey, actually, your house has a view, and it's going to sound out of left field, and I know you're looking at your macaroni over here, but I'm just curious, like, would you sell? I have a buyer who is like literally describing your house right now, and they would probably pay you really, well for it. I mean, if you thought about selling, you'd be surprised what comes out of people's mouths, right? I mean, there's occasions that we could probably utilize these top 10 lists, especially with our databases. So I wanted to plant that seed. I think this is also scalable for team agents. I can see this is something we can easily have our team agents do, right? Open houses are my jam. Open houses, I'm actually teaching my open house class next Wednesday at 10 for Bob Stewart for the Brivity webinar. And the only reason I say that is it's a good one to send your team agents to, because what I teach in my open house, there's a million open house classes, but what I teach is how to get an appointment literally adjacent to that open house. And if your agents on your teams, or you, but if your agents on your teams, if they do nothing else, if they do nothing else, but every time they do an open house, they get an appointment, I guarantee you will get at least 2-to-1 ratios on your listings. Done. End of story. Most of them, right, can probably get 2 appointments depending on the open house and how they structure it. So that's next Wednesday at 10. I can have Leslie, maybe we can send them that link on the follow-up. Probably your open houses aren't working. If your bubble in your head right now is like, yeah, they don't work, there's probably not enough signs, you're not getting enough people there. You're probably not focused on the right goal if they're not working. And the goal should absolutely be to make an appointment, to make a confirmed appointment at the open house. Secondary goal is to get their contact info. No question about it. That's most people's first goal though. And that's the problem. Your goal, a lead at an open house, is someone you have a set appointment with. And ideally, the delta between the open house ending and the appointment beginning is very small. So the ideal outcome of an open house is if the open house ends at 4, it's an appointment at 4:30. And I kind of walk through what that looks like and scripts and how to kind of get into that mindset and structure your day around that. Number 3, we don't train our agents. We can solve that for you. If nothing else, Experience and Ben Kinney Companies has training. Like we have training. So there's no excuse for any training of our agents. Number 4 is a big deal. And it really goes back to our automation. We probably don't have a fast speed to lead process. We probably don't have automation involved. And we all probably need to do a little bit better. I do, with automating things, because it's just not in a lot of our natures to kind of set that stuff up, right? And that's number 5. Sorry, I kind of skipped to number 5. So we talked a little bit about the leveraging the would buy or would sell list. So I guess I'm a little out of order on my slide deck, but I really think there's something there to all of us kind of carrying a top 10 list of buyers and sellers and starting to train our team. I think that's a good practice to go through every week. I have a feeling all of our numbers would go up if we have our entire team on board, and every single week we're sifting through those. Then I think pretty soon the conversations look differently. Now at your team meetings, what if there's 5 minutes where you're comparing those lists, and everyone's like, Leslie, you just said on your top 10 would buy that someone would buy on the waterfront in Lake Stevens for under 1.5. Well, that's on my would sell list. Let's go. And, so I think that there's something there. I don't have any personal experience of that, but I heard 2 or 3 teams over the last year have mentioned some version of this. So if any of you guys kind of make this systemic or part of your process, I'd love to hear back from you, because I have a feeling there's something there. This is my script that I think everybody should be using at open houses. It's what I teach. It's what I drill into our agents. And, and the script is, You know, Jake, that's great. I'm so glad that you like the open floor plan of this house. Would you like to meet me after the open house to write an offer on this home? And I go into a whole training about that. But the point of this script, and the reason I brought it up in this slide deck, is we have to be very purposeful now, especially in this market, about what the outcome we want is from every activity we're doing on our listings. That's the difference. I think before, when you had like a slippery 30 days where the listing was going to be active, you had another 30 days when it was pending. You know, we had some flexibility, right? We have to be tight now. You have to ask yourself every single thing you do, what is the outcome I'm seeking? What's the goal? You know, what's the number I want? How am I going to define success of an open house? How am I going to define success of circle prospecting, which we're going to go in a minute? You know, how am I going to define success of door knocking, right? We have to have tangible numbers that we're tracking now. We no longer have the luxury of time. We have like 4 or 5 days of active market time. And we have to take all the activities we used to do to get business from listings and consolidate those into a pretty tight time frame, right? Prospecting. I am not a door knocker. I've barely door knocked my whole career. There are others of you here in this room, in this Zoom, that are stellar at it and awesome. I've done it before. The best results I've ever had from door knocking is I have door knocked to invite people to open houses, and that has always worked really well for me. So I think that, you know, what I'll say about door knocking is just that, you know, do it and be intentional about utilizing your listing as an excuse for doing it, thus knocking doors and inviting people to your open houses, right? It's a way to get face to face with someone, even if, like, I'm not very masterful at it, but if I can just, you know, get face to face and get them comfortable with me, even if they can't go to the open house, they might just invite me in to do a pricing analysis, right? So I want to talk about circle prospecting in a minute, because I think that circle prospecting, I have some thoughts on that. There are no canceled and expireds. There's just really not. There are some for sale by owners. You know, vacant homes that are not on the market are really good sources. When we're listing a home, we can leverage our listing in those scripts. You know, hey, you know, Sarita, I can see that you're in California. I tracked down your number. Just wanted to let you know I sold your neighbor's house, and we had 10 offers, and we sold it for 100 over asking price. And I know that you've held on to this house for a while. You know, would you consider selling? I might be able to, you know, match you with a buyer. And, you know, what are you getting for rent? And again, I just want us to be in a mindset of using our listings to have more conversations. You know, how am I going to get 3 deals for every listing? That's how. Homes in default, you know, all of the above. You know, are your home valuation, is your advertising on social media and your pay-per-click that's leading to home valuation sites, are you utilizing your listings? You look like a rock star when you are targeting someone in a neighborhood and you're like, hey, I just sold 2 houses in your neighborhood. Why don't you come see? You will automatically get an appointment, right? Be sure you're using your listings in this stuff. Can't stress it enough, right? You know, internet speed to lead, we talked about it. My rule of thumb is that the fact that the smaller the delta between you talking to the lead and then the lead talking to the lead in the appointment, the higher rate of show ups. So, you know, ideally you get an internet lead, talk to them within 120 seconds, and the meeting's in an hour. I mean, that's a little extreme, but that's kind of the ideal. Any extension from that, you have a less likely chance of converting them. And for all of you here who do Zillow, I mean, that's just from my Zillow days when I was spending tens of thousands of dollars, and, you know, a lot of my business is relying on that. I mean, it was too expensive to mess around with, and you just had to get super, super tight. So I'm actually grateful for Zillow for that, because they, you know, practically bankrupted me, but they got me good. They got me good. I mean, when you're spending, you know, $400 or $500 a lead, you don't mess around. You figure out how to convert them, or you drop it, right? So I think that we have to really all think in terms of not just speed to talking to the lead, but I want you and your agents to think about the fact that every hour that goes by between you deciding with them you're going to set an appointment and the actual appointment itself is another chance for them to go find another agent. It just has to be quick now. You guys are lead masters, though. You guys are internet lead masters. We talked about this. I want to go to circle prospecting. Oh, hold on. You know what, I'm going to stop the screen share because I want to move to circle prospecting because I've been having really, really good results. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, hold up. All right. So who here is doing circle prospecting or does it? Does anyone here farm? I can't see anyone.
I'll help out Via. Darcy, she does both. So well, she was brave enough to raise her hand anyway.
Okay, so I'm looking for raise your hand if you farm or do a pretty good share of circle prospecting.
Miss Darcy,
Darcy.
and Jason.
Aaron, you don't? Simi, are you not doing circle prospecting?
I just do door knocking around the homes when I list. I'm not full-fledgedly doing circle prospecting as I want to, but I do a smaller portion of it. I do door knock the homes when the listing goes live.
Okay. So I think that I'm a big believer in circle prospecting, especially when we're walking into this now with a new intentionality and a new numbers goal to hit, right? I also am one of my DHBs, deeply held beliefs, is that most of us, and I'm guilty, most of us are probably doing it wrong. One of the hardest lessons I've learned over the last 12 months is I've learned how to cold email, and that has really been hard. Taking lists of people who don't know you and trying to show enough value so that they don't unsubscribe and so that to actually convert them has been eye-opening to me, just eye-opening. Because in my world, I'm having to try to, this is for recruiting, right? And so I've just had a crash course in how to cold email and how to cold market. It's not warm. I mean, it's just the numbers and the scale has been too big. And it's just, and I failed forward fabulously, belly flopped right in, actually. I have people who hate me from this, right? But the good news is that, you laugh, Jake, but you should see some of the emails. The good news is that we've started to figure it out and we're starting to get really, really great results. And so I started listening to these people I was interviewing. And kind of that coupled with what I was learning, I started experimenting with my own team. And it has been like night and day how much better my circle prospecting is, right? So one of the big things I've learned, and I think that it warrants writing down because it's kind of a paradigm shift for some of you. Some of you already know it, but anytime you're doing marketing, and I mean 33 touch emails, I mean social media marketing, any type of marketing, anytime you're doing marketing, the new way I think is who is my target market and what are their biggest problems and how can I solve them? So I now think in terms of, well, okay, like what are my homeowners' biggest problems? What is their big, we all know the answer. What is a home seller's biggest problem, even if they might want to sell? Someone unmute, everyone knows the answer. Why are they not selling?
Find another home.
Because they have to buy. That's so how can we solve that problem, right? The other thing, I think the other problem to solve is they want information and they're curious about the price of their home, but they're not ready enough to call you. They don't want to trouble you. They don't want to take your time. They want information, but they don't want to go to too much trouble to get it. But if the information were right, then they might go forward, right? So that's where home valuation leads come in, I think. So I think that, my new intentionality has super duper helped on circle prospecting. It's number one, every single one has to have a very clear and thought out call to action. So, a couple examples are, is it going to be a home valuation lead? Is that my call to action? What do I want the outcome to be? Do I want them to go to my home valuation site? Do I want to set up a meeting with them? Do I want them to call me, a direct call? Do I want them to come to my open house? Right? Do I want them to go to my website? I now think very clearly about where I want, what I want, what's the purpose of each postcard. If I'm going to, and see me, I would argue postcards can go very well hand in hand with door knocking, right? Did you get the postcard, the did you get script, which we can upload if we do this Facebook group, but did you get my postcard? have you looked to see what the value could be of your home, right? Number two, some kind of a sense of urgency. This isn't going to last forever, something that propels them to act now. And then number three is just, good copywriting that's compelling. When we started doing our webinars, it was horrible. It just wasn't good. And then we started getting good. We're like, well, we started learning things like how to ... was getting us more registrations, or, the 5 things you're not doing to get listings. That was helpful. What wasn't helpful was interview with, Vija Williams. They don't know what they're going to get out of that. There's no benefit I'm selling from that, right? But if I say, 3 things to do to double your conversion in a listing appointment, people would register. So we started having to get good at our copywriting. And by the way, that was also solving a problem for them. So the whole topic was chosen because it was solving a problem, right? Many of you guys have come to my webinars, if you've only gone to 1 or 2, it's probably because that addressed a problem you were having at the moment, and you felt like that was worth your time. So it's hard to read this, but this is what, this is now, I just pulled this is a real format. This is now what I send to my assistant for our 8x8 circle prospectings. Every single postcard is pre-planned out, pre-produced. The only thing, some of them we have to plug in price because we don't know what they sold for yet. Ready to go with a would sell list that we get from BKCO Title. We have them, they have an algorithm, AI generated list that they can pull for us. And every single one has the call to action. CTA means call to action. So it's a description of the postcard, and then I'll read it because it's really hard to read. But this is a good example of a real one. This is for a listing that we had, 2 listings that we had. The call to action, the first one is to the Brivity website, the property listing page. We wanted them to come to that website because it had open house info. The second one, the call to action is direct response. We wanted a phone call on that one while the home was pending. That was our goal. We wanted that was a direct response one. Number 3, direct response. Number 4, we want to get home valuation, and also we wanted to get. It's not on this. We wanted to get market reports sent. We wanted them to sign up for market reports. So you can see that every single one of these postcards now, I have a very specific outcome and now we can kind of, run data on, like, how do we get 3 website registrations? Do we get 6 home valuation leads from this? And we can start measuring if it was successful or not, right? Ever since we got more purposeful with this and did better copy, it has been phenomenal results, because almost every other realtor is like, just sold, just listed, here's my picture. It just has to be a little tweaked to be those 3 things. So I just want to urge you guys to use circle prospecting a little bit more purposeful and think about what problems that you're solving. They probably want information. Yes, Shauna, once a week for 8 weeks. Yep. And then I don't really door knock. My girls do sometimes. They tend to door knock to invite to open houses. So someone like Simi, who's doing the hard prospecting work. Simi, you're what I would call prospecting based, but we can make you marketing enhanced, and probably just doing that up your business 50%. So let's meet on that, Simi. But I a lot of you guys who are like, I'm bowing down to you, that you're hardcore on the phone, you're hardcore, door knocking already. This is just going to bolster that. This is going to really plus it. Some of you are more marketing based and prospecting enhanced, and that's okay too if it works. You just need to make sure your marketing is really on point if you're going to spend that money, right?
Hey, Vija, we got a question, and I just want to make sure we address it is as we're talking about prospecting, marketing base. Great question. With the DNC list and so much focus around that, has that changed the way that you're making calls? Are you still making calls, or how are you implementing that in your business?
I think someone else should answer that. I've never really been a huge cold caller. I have done circle prospecting calls, and when they say take me off your list, we just take them off. But who here, there's a lot of people here who are awesome cold callers. I don't know.
Yeah. Anybody doing it at a high level or change the way they're looking at that with the DNC regulations?
I think cold calling, I don't know. I think that more and more we need to start looking at some of these other methods and thinking about how we can grow our business in a way that's a little bit more warm, right? I think cold calling is awesome. And I think it's great, but I think that it should be done in conjunction probably with a bigger picture.
A strategy, a full strategy and not a standalone. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've gotten one listing a month this year from Circle Prospecting.
There you go. I love circle prospecting. That's the one type of cold call I do, Jason.
Yeah, it's cold calling. You know, they didn't ask us to call them. But, you know, and I've leveraged this out. I have someone that does this at a pretty high level that I've been working with for a year and a half now. And honestly, it took about 10 months to really start getting results from her. But it was an investment in time. And then, you know, we're not just looking for that person that wants to talk to us now. She is building up a nurture database for us. I mean, we have probably over 400 nurtures that have been added to our database in the last 12 months that have said that they are willing to sell or they're planning to sell within the next 12 months. And she sets follow-ups for them. She calls them, she nurtures them until they are ready to actually meet with us. And that is, it's an investment. And it takes some time to build up that database, but if you stick it out, you know, one listing a month. And from those listings, I've gotten other listings or I've gotten other buyers. And so we're not recreating the wheel. We're just doing what's been taught.
And Jason, are you running every circle prospecting list through the DNC list before making those calls, or kind of what's your protocol around that?
So we're running that through a service where you know, they're pulling data. And the dialer we're using is compliant, and we're doing everything we can to play with inside the lines. But you know, we also have to, you know, we have to call different areas too. Like sometimes she'll call an area maybe where I don't necessarily want to have business, but we can't just keep pounding the same area over and over again every week. So if you use the right dialer, you should be compliant. And if you can leverage it out, you know, it's 1,000 dials a day. I mean, she dials for us 40 hours a week. That's what she does. It's her whole purpose on this team.
So leveraging out not only the prospecting, but also leveraging out the liability of the DNC list.
Yeah, that's what we've done.
Thanks, Vija.
I think as long as, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I think as long as if they ask you to remove, I think you get, I mean, I think it's the second call. Am I wrong there? But it's the first call isn't what puts you in jail. It's the second one. Is that right or wrong? Anyone? I think you're okay cold calling. I think you have to have a system in place to not make the second wrong call.
There you go. Yeah, I think that's the thing is if you remove them in that timely manner and you have the system in place to do.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Then,
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So Matthew, you're the first call. You're in trouble if they're on the list.
Yeah, okay. We had a guy via in Colorado Springs. He was an attorney, and I don't know how he was listed. He literally kept a roster of all the agents he had won successful suits against on their first call. He's a total jerk. But as soon as you called him, he was like, "Oh, boom." And he had a list, kept a running list.
All right, ignore me, ignore everything I say. I want to get through this though, because remember we talked about the golden text. So is anyone here sending the golden letter right now? Because this is like a thing. A lot of people are doing this now. Can't see them scrolling through. No one. Okay. So this is I like this a lot. This is Gina Ront in Austin is doing like thousands of these every week and just crushing it. And there's a lot of people around the country. It's on the pivot shift ahead page a lot. I'm starting to see the pictures. So that text, there's actually a letter format, which I don't know if I have on here. I'll upload it. We'll get our Facebook group together. But Zach uses handwritten or ballpoint marketing. And so it looks like it's like a handwritten thing. And it's basically that text. It's like, hey, Jason, you know, wondering if there's a price you would sell your home for, whatever that, you know, the text thing was. It's very, very simple. And then, you know, Gina Ront, who's doing it at a high level, he has like dedicated numbers and he makes everybody leave a voicemail so that they can capture their information and then they call them right back. Other people just give it to their main line, so that they're whatever. I'm seeing really, really good responses from golden letters. And I think that, You can use these as circle prospecting around current listings. I think that's actually the most effective. And I think that you could probably do this in conjunction with Jason, those circle prospecting calls, and Simi, those circle prospecting door knocks. You know, if you're doing all of that, if you're really legit doing all of that, there is no reason you won't at least get 1 or 2 pieces of business for every listing you have. Like, it's almost impossible not to. Over time, I'm not saying it happens right away, but if you're really truly like starting to bring all this together and use the listing as the excuse to do all the other marketing stuff, right? That's the difference, is kind of using that as like a hook, you know, for your phone calls, for your texts, for your letters. Then I think that all of us can kind of, you know, look at what we're doing the next, or if you say, okay, I've got 5 or 10 listings in the pipeline between now and the end of the year. And if you leave this call and you write your GPS and your 135 and you go, okay, how would I get 3 pieces of business? You know, and you think, what are the 3 pieces, you know, like, what are the 3 sources? You know, it could be circle prospecting and it could be 4 postcards and 2 golden letters and 2 more postcards. Or it could be, you know, your 8x8 could be, it could be 3 postcards, 1 golden letter, 2 calls, and 1 door knock. I'm making this up, I don't know. But my point is like, whatever your plan is, if you just map it out and then you go, okay, what are the 5 things I'd have to do? Well, I'd have to get automated registration for open houses if open houses is one. I'd have to, you know, be sure that I set a goal of 1 appointment at every open house. I'd have to have, you know, you just have to go through and write it out. I bet you all of you guys will get way more business. That's really what I'm finding. It's the people that are leveraging what they already have and they just springboard it, you know, to 2 or 3 more pieces of business. I think that's the difference. And I would also say that what Jason said at the beginning is true. It's definitely like database stuff too, but use your listings as leverage for those conversations. Use your listings as the excuse to send things out to your database, to make you look good, to do the golden text and the golden script and everything, right? So with that said, any comments, thoughts, you guys want to add anything that you're doing that we talked about, or anything at all, really? No? Was this helpful? Was this good?
So powerful, that golden text. That's extraordinary. I'm excited to share.
Cool, thank you. All right, well, let's do that. Let's get our Path to a Million group together, Leslie, and throw them on a Facebook group, and then we'll just start uploading stuff for them.
I love that. We will get all that signed up for you guys, and watch for your wrap-up email with this recording so you can go back and capture all of those scripts and nuggets. And then Vija, we will also include, can we include a copy of the slides and the links we talked about as well in that email?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then of course, you guys put on your calendar next month, same time, same place. We will get the links out so that we can continue those conversations and check your email for wrap up and Facebook page.
And next month will be either Ben or Chris. You won't be stuck with me, so you'll have really good content. I'm always second rate.
Don't underestimate yourself. Don't at all. I've sat in on all of them, and you bring a really powerful energy. Everybody should be finding you on the Empire Builders podcast. It's a lot of fun.
You're my favorite today.
You like that little plug? That little plug?
That was a good little plug. That was a good little plug. Yeah, Empire.
Five of my top agents are using your podcast for like their book club. So it's powerful. It's powerful, and it's fun to listen to you girls giggle and be real. And be honest. Cool.
Sarah, reach out to me offline and I want to zoom in and be with your people. I would love to spend time with you guys if they're doing that.
We're gonna plan on it. That sounds great. I'll text you.
Okay, good. Oh, that would be so fun. Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Have a powerful day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.